Our month of April theme, as I said, is all about embracing change, going into the unknown, into something new in your life. And my question today is, what are you interested in changing? We come to spirituality to change our lives, to move ourselves in a better direction as we connect with this spiritual energy that's in the universe and within us. So let's commit to changing some things. Let's commit to changing from judgment to forgiveness. How about changing from reactions of fear to choices of love? Or maybe could you commit to changing from kind of habitual distractions to practiced mindfulness, from chaotic living to peacefulness? How about the straitjacket of old beliefs into the freedom of new thoughts? I heard a pastor on the television the other day say, you can't lead others to a place you aren't going yourself. So since I'm your minister, you might be watching to see exactly where I'm headed, right? To make sure you want to go wherever it is I'm going. And I can tell you those are the places that I'm going. I'm going to forgiveness, to choosing love, to practicing mindfulness, to peacefulness, to freedom. Those are the things that I'm moving toward. And I'm changing, and I trust that you're watching me change as my life unfolds. And I hope that you're curious about where I'm going, and let's go in this direction together. Because I'm committed to change. I'm committed to change. And when we are committed to a higher version for ourselves, a higher vision for ourselves, we become committed to accepting change and new things. And when we're committed to change, we welcome every sign of something that needs to be released. I love Randy's reading. It was perfect. An idea that no longer has life in it. Isn't that powerful? Because we know that when we let go of one of those things, it will be replaced by something that better matches this higher vibration we're creating for ourselves. Because as we grow and heal, we begin to rise. As Derek sang in that first song, we rise. And when we rise, we draw to us new things that are a better match for us. But sometimes it's hard to stop resisting. Quite frankly, change is actually one of our birthrights. We have the ability to change. There's a core principle in this teaching, and it states this: freedom is the birthright of every individual. We are free to choose and create our experience of life. And we exercise that freedom every time we decide to choose something new for ourselves. We did that visioning last month, and we were trying to figure out something new, a new idea for ourselves. Each one of us wakes up every day with the freedom to make this day a step in that direction. Each day brings this fresh opportunity to choose, and we either choose comfortable, familiar patterns that we've kind of grown accustomed to, or we choose to move in a new direction. It's our choice. And we ask ourselves, how can we use this day to move closer to a life that we deeply desire? When we do choose to grow and change, that's a conscious choice. But when do we choose that, and when do we choose to remain in old patterns? I think it depends on what is motivating us. Because what I have found is one of the most powerful motivators for me to stay stuck in the familiar is the avoidance of upset, right? I don't really like making other people uncomfortable, and I really don't like it when other people are angry or upset. And I will procrastinate, and I will avoid making big decisions sometimes, because if I know that someone else is going to be upset in my change of direction, I might just hold still. Can you relate? I call it going along to get along, right? So, but you know what? I've also found that some of the decisions that I have made that have caused the most upset have led me to more freedom, more fulfillment, more happiness. And some of the choices that I have made to kind of go against the grain of the people surrounding me have created these major pathways to freedom and success and creativity and joy. Can you relate to that, right? So I'm going to tell you a story. So most of you know that I lived in Atlanta for almost all of my adult life, but I also lived in Seattle for a short period of time. And when I left Atlanta for Seattle in 2001, I had lived in Atlanta for 19 years. So you can imagine I had built this vast network of colleagues and friends and social structures, business connections, right? I was settled in a beautiful neighborhood, and my daughter had these really great friends that lived right across the street. But I had a deep longing for change, even though all of this was set in place. And I had gone on a business trip to Seattle, and I mentioned to this friend there, I could live here. I had no mindful intention of moving to Seattle, but 2 years later, my VP called me and said, would you like to interview for this big promotion in Seattle? And within 6 weeks of that phone call, I had sold my house, I had moved out there, I was starting my daughter in school all the way across the country. And now I can tell you there was some upset. Wasn't there, Mom? There was upset. My mom will tell you, my friends were not happy, my coworkers weren't happy, my neighbors weren't happy. Mom wasn't happy either. Actually, the only person that was happy was me, right? And Kelsey was excited. My daughter was excited, but she was sick, so, anything's exciting to a 6-year-old. But that move to Seattle changed the trajectory of my entire life. Through that doorway of change, I found great professional success, but also I found spirituality there. I found my strength, I found my power and my authenticity, and incidentally, it changed my mom's life too. She met her husband and moved there herself, right? So the lesson is that your good, my good, could not be separate from anyone else's good, because everyone else's good is involved in all that. Now, they might not be willing to do what my mom did and find her good in the middle of my change, but it's there if they want to do that. But anyway, so my thought is that if I'm too busy paying attention to what other people are going to think of me, or how I can get more approval from everyone around me, if I'm paying too much attention to that, or following the rules that are kind of laid out for me, I may miss the doorways that lead to my best life. And these doorways are hidden in plain sight, but sometimes I'm not even looking. I named my lesson today, Hidden in Plain Sight, because of this quote by Richard Rohr, the contemporary Christian teacher. He says, we seem insistent on not recognizing this universal pattern of growth and change. It seems that each of us has to learn on our own what is well hidden, but also in plain sight. He calls it a universal pattern of growth and change that each one of us has to learn, and all of us are in the midst of it all the time. And I think that what we have to learn is how to listen to our inner wisdom. Sometimes the doorway to our best self is hidden. It's in plain sight. It's not hidden from us individually, but often it is hidden from everyone else around us. No one could see the wisdom of my moving out west. No one. All I knew was I had to go. When that phone call came, I'm like, I have to go. But what were the signs? What were the signs hidden in plain sight in my life that pointed me toward this big, big change like that? And more importantly for you, what are these signs hiding in your own life, right? One of the signs that change is beckoning us is frustration and what I call divine discontent. Often we can find ourselves in a chapter in our lives when everything around us is frustrating. It's frustrating. We're restless. It's difficult. And we're discontent in these situations because they need to change, because we've outgrown them. Just like Randy's reading, it was perfect reading. We've outgrown them. Or we've gained all there is to gain. I say the words juice. I juice everything I can out of a situation, and when it's done, it's done. And this kind of mild pain of divine discontent is a teacher. But it is tempting to just try to complain it away, right? So if you find yourself complaining all the time about something a lot, stop and pay attention, because often people around you, these people that you don't want to upset, right? They're going to encourage you to stick it out. Stick it out. They're going to accuse you of being the princess and the pea, just too sensitive for your own good. And that may be true from their perspective, but if your highest self within you is prodding you with this restlessness and discontent, it may be a sign that a change could be good for you. And this sign can just be hidden in plain sight, right? Another sign that something new is beckoning us is boredom. Boredom or lack of fulfillment. If the things that you've been doing for years are no longer giving you joy and satisfaction, that's a sign. If you find yourself distancing yourself from activities because the conversations are stagnant or uninteresting, it might be a sign that you've outgrown that thing, that there's no more life in that thing, but you might be afraid to change and grow into something else. And one sign I want to point out is distracting or numbing behavior. So all of us use some form of distraction from time to time, right? Things like shopping, or mindless television, or drinking, or drugging, or whatever. We use those things to distract ourselves, and if we're using these behaviors and others like them frequently, it might be a sign that things need to change. Another sign is judgment and gossip. Okay, so if there are situations and relationships in your life that have disintegrated into negative talk, either to yourself or to others, it's a clear sign that something needs to change. I know. You want them to change. You want them to change. But the reality is that type of talk habit is calling forth a change within you. We're powerless to change anyone else, so we've got to change ourselves. And this sign of gossip and judgment is a call for forgiveness and a release so that you can have greater freedom. It's a sign that you are focused outward on someone else's journey more than you're focused on your own. Man, this sign can just be disguised and unnoticed because everybody's doing it, right? So many of these little doorways to change are hiding in plain sight in your experiences, but can you recognize them for yourself, right? When we decide to go on the hero's journey, that universal journey that we all must go on if we want to find our own power and our own authenticity, we've got to enter through a doorway that perhaps only we can see. We've got to follow that inner calling, that inner voice, that intuitive part of ourselves that simply knows that we must do this, we must do that, or we must go here or there, we've got to pursue this, investigate that. That's a drawing inside of ourselves. We've got to find this deep curiosity inside us that wants to figure out, where is our power? Where does our power lie? And what are we capable of doing with that power? That's the hero's journey. And some of us find that inner curiosity when we're young, but most of us are so busy trying to please everybody around us that we don't know. We're not looking for that. Most of us become curious about our own inner light only when we have grown tired of running around trying to please everybody else, checking off those must-do things on our checklist, right? And I had checked all the boxes. I had checked all the boxes when I was young. College, check. Relationship, check. Career, check. Baby, check, right? But with the sudden change of an unexpected breakup and the birth of a child with medical challenges, I found myself deeply curious about my inner life. I no longer cared about the approval of everyone around me, and I shifted. And to the degree to the degree that you allow yourself to become less resistant to upsets, you can embrace opportunities and move in a new direction. You can either stay in the comfortable script that you know, or take a brave step into change. And that can look like chaos and disorder, right? But when you take that brave step, you open yourself up, and that dry crustiness of old habits will begin to fall away. And what it does is it reveals this more agile part of yourself that can make choices to create a life that works for you. Because see, what happens is the energy of the universe rises to meet you when you take those changes. When you choose something new that aligns with your highest self, the universe says yes, and the energy flows behind you. And let me tell you, the change that I made back then was pretty chaotic when I moved. I knew no one out there, no one. I had to figure everything out with a 6-year-old little girl in tow, right? And some people have agreed that it was the bravest thing I ever did. But out of that chaos, a new order for my life was created. I had a new life and a new me, quite frankly. So what would it take to make a major change in your life? It would require a brave step into the unknown, into the chaos and disorder, wouldn't it? Because the current sense of order would break down, room by room, closet by closet, cabinet by cabinet, social structure by social structure, relationship by relationship. And for most people, that would cause some upset, right? Most of us would worry that there would be too much unknown, too much chaos. Things might not get done on time. You know, things could stretch out on and on. Never mind, I'm just going to stay here. Thank you very much. So what would it take for you to agree to a major change in your life? For most of us, it would require a vision. A vision. We could get interested if someone else would draw up the plan for how to get from here to there. Or it could show us a picture of what our new you would look like when all was said and done. We could also get interested if someone was going to go with us, motivating us to keep doing this step, keep going, keep going. Because when we get overwhelmed by all the change, someone else would just keep us going. And we love a good makeover show, don't we? Because everything is tidy at the end of 1 hour. You know, the chaos is not really shown, and then boom, there's your new house or your new thing. 1 hour, but here's a little secret. Whatever we really don't want to change is probably the very thing that is calling for us to change it. Whatever we're clinging to because it's familiar and comfortable may be holding us back from having a more satisfying experience. Whatever you find resistance inside you, whenever you find that inside you, there's a clue that that might be a direction you might want to look at. It's how life works. And I was resistant to the change I made. I laid awake at night worrying, what if I never make friends? What if I don't know how to get from here to there? What if I never find my way? I worried that I would never really feel like I was home again. But overcoming those fears and areas of resistance was the key to my freedom, facing those fears. But sometimes life doesn't give us a choice, does it? When a major change has to be made. Sometimes a storm blows through your life, figuratively or literally, right? And a move must be made. Things simply cannot stay the same. We've all had that happen to us, haven't we? I see your heads nodding. You know, that unexpected breakup, that being downsized at a job, you know, getting an unexpected diagnosis, losing someone that we love. Or do I have to say it, a pandemic?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes things have to change, and these are almost like assigned hero's journeys that we have to go on, where we have to go find our strength, find our power, and our new sense of authenticity. Like it or not, we have to do it sometimes. And resistance can be a part of those experiences too. You know, resistance is a sign that we haven't accepted a change or the necessity of a change. It shows up like anger and blame and depression and isolation. All the stages of grief, actually. Those are the stages that we're going to go through. But if we can turn within to that higher power within us, to God or spirit or whatever you want to call it, the energy of life, that thing that is bigger, we find that we do have choices to make. The chaos eventually does give way to new order. And our acceptance and willingness to change, evolve and grow, out of that rises this deep creative energy, that life that's in us, and it makes the way clear. There's no way to simplify the process. No way. But I will tell you, spiritual practice helps, because staying in that daily awareness, staying awake in gratitude keeps you fresh and keeps you strong. And you are able to see you do have the tools in your toolbox that you've used in the past when you've faced these changes and challenges. Because see, now that I know from my experience of moving to Seattle, when an unexpected change comes, I can remember that journey into the unknown, and I can pull from those resources deep within me, that resilience and resourcefulness and strength, that I can figure things out. I can thrive no matter what. I know that spirit is within me. It's in me. And I'm never alone. Even when I truly feel all alone in a city, I know no one. I'm never alone. And often when the dust settles, you realize the winds of change have just blown you ever closer to the highest visions for your life. That's what's happened to me. And I can trace so many of the beautiful things in my life right now back to that decision. Ernest Holmes says, keeping the goal in mind, refusing to be baffled or defeated, with uplifted thought and calm but definite purpose, we cannot fail. And what is the goal? The goal to keep in mind is the unfolding of your highest self. So I have 3 tips for you to practice. Number 1, practice staying open to possibility in the middle of disappointments. Where is the possibility in it? Sometimes we think we know how something's going to unfold, and when it doesn't go that way and we get resistant, it's easy to block the good that is coming through that. So practice staying open to possibilities. The second one is practice trusting that the universe is always conspiring on your behalf. Practice that. Because as you hold your intentions and your visions in mind, as you hold these ideas in mind, get curious as to how this thing that shows up or that thing that shows up is here to move you toward that. This chaos is filled with opportunity hidden in plain sight. And number 3, practice living in gratitude for everything in your life. Everything. There are no mistakes. There are no mishaps. Only lessons to be revealed and learned. And when you welcome everything, unexpected things will point the way to something new, even if the doorway is hidden in plain sight. And I'm going to close with Richard Rohr's welcoming prayer. He's such a voice of wisdom on this topic. He writes, I welcome everything as it comes to me today. I welcome the fear, the worry, the anger and confusion. I welcome the thoughts that come to me that I do not control. I welcome the people, the situations, and the outcomes. I let go of my hope to control or change any of these feelings, people, conditions, or even myself. I release all of these. I open to what is with me right here in this moment. I open to the presence and love of God around and within. Amen. And so it is.